thank all the members for the robust discussion that we've had on this bill. But I also want to clear a couple things up, because a lot of things were said that are patently false. One of which was the focus on child trafficking. As my colleague from Elk Grove actually pointed out, that was decriminalized. The loitering for the purposes of prostitution for minors was decriminalized in SB 1322 in 2016, a bill carried by Senator Mitchell that my colleague from Palmdale was, in fact, a co-author on. So if you believe that loitering for the purpose of prostitution is a tool needed to end child trafficking, well, you should talk to whoever was in the legislature in 2016, because that was done. And this bill relates to people over the age of 18. So I just want to be really clear about that, about what the law does today and what this law will change, because I think there were a lot of misstatements of fact that were made in these debates. Secondly, my colleague from Fresno called this a tool. He used the word tool many times. It's a really nice word for criminalizing victims. It is not just a tool, members. This is a crime, and I want us to call it what it actually is. So if you believe that people who are loitering should be convicted of a crime, then do what you got to do. But it's not a tool, it's a crime. And these people will end up with a record that will stop them from getting housing and jobs and the future they deserve. And so I want us to be very clear about what this is. As a body, we passed $170 million in aid for victims, some of which goes to human trafficking victims. We, as a body, both sides of the aisle, believe deeply, and my colleague from Elk Grove spoke about a lot of things that maybe we should discuss doing differently about human trafficking. We all want to end human trafficking. I think every single one of us is in partnership with law enforcement who says we're losing the war on human trafficking. But CAST LA, which is the strongest advocate for human trafficking victims, supports this legislation. And so when the question was raised about what makes our communities safer, I guess the question is, which communities do you care about? And the LGBTQ community is not safer with this law on the books. And as a longtime ally of LGBTQ plus rights, I am proud to stand in support of this bill today. And lastly, I know I'm probably not the only woman on the floor that was triggered when one of our colleagues said, well, they're dressed that way. How many of us have friends that have been raped who were told, well, you were dressed that way? Being dressed that way is not a crime. And it will never be okay to be victimized because you are dressed in any manner. And I want that to be clear to everybody who's watching and listening today. And with that, on behalf of every single one of our LGBTQ plus sisters and brothers, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.